All right, my friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm Brian, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about two-factor authentication methods, often called 2FA. And yes, this is that little text message code that you get on your phone that verifies you to log into your accounts. So I want to kick this video off by putting out a quick disclaimer here, okay? Now, this content is for informational purposes only. I am not telling you what method or service to use, nor am I telling you how to secure your own accounts. I am merely sharing with you some available options and what I have found that works for me. It is your responsibility for your own online security. Okay, now with that out of the way, what is two-factor authentication? And we'll keep it really simple here, okay? All right. 2FA is a second form of verification that you can turn on if your account allows you, the login account allows you to add this extra level of security. Now, not all accounts allow this, and it's not just for credit cards or banking information. You can use two-factor authentication on various accounts like your Google account, your Microsoft account, and many other accounts. It doesn't have to just be like a bank. Okay, it's just a second step of verification. Also, it's a common misunderstanding that 2FA is only that little text message, but it can be so many different things. 2FA can be anything from an email, an automated phone call. Yes, it can be a text message, and it also can be a specific application that you register with a third-party app that generates a rolling code. And it also could be the app itself that the service provider or the login actually provides you with. Now, all of these are two-factor authentication methods because basically what you're doing here is this. It is a second form of verification in addition to your password to log into your account. That's why it's called two-factor, because your password is the first piece and the second form of verification is the second piece. So there it is. There's the two-factor part of it. All right. Now, these little text messages called SMS, which stands for Short Message Service, okay, these are the most popular right now, and this is pretty much what most people are always talking about. How do I basically do this? Okay. However, they are not the most convenient, nor are they the most secure. And if you do not have cell phone service, you don't have a cell phone signal, you cannot receive that code. It doesn't matter if you're international or not. Okay. And I am asked about this the most. How do I get SMS text messages when traveling abroad? Now, I'm going to address this in detail in this video. And yes, it is a more complex, so we'll walk through that step. But first, I want to talk about other options that you may have available to you, which can make your life so much easier than just sitting around waiting for a text message and hoping it basically works. Okay, let's dive right in. All right, let's start out by talking about my favorite option, and that is the option to use two-factor authentication, specifically applications, okay? For example, like Google Authenticator or 2FA Authenticator is another one. Microsoft Authenticator is another app, and there's many third-party apps out there that do this. What they do is they generate a rolling code, okay? These applications you download onto your smartphone, and then they generate a 6-digit rolling code that changes every 30 seconds. And this is the industry standard for our level of encryption. It's what they call TOTP, which stands for time-based one-time password. All right. Now, not all logins, not all services, such as banks and credit card companies stuff, may have this option available to use these rolling code generating apps. A lot of them do. Okay. But if your bank or institution allows for this option, basically what you wind up doing is you register your device by scanning a QR code, all right, and that links your device, that links that application to your login, and those code generators basically link up, okay? Then you can use this 6-digit rolling code when you log in. So basically you just open the app and you pull off that code that changes every 30 seconds, you use your password, boom, you're in, okay? Now, basically, these applications are generating pretty much the same 6-digit code you receive in that text message. So rather than your bank doing that generating of the code and then they text that code out to you, you're allowing a specific application to do that on your end, and you're not having to wait for that text message, okay? Also, using this 2FA application, it doesn't require you to have a cell phone signal. You don't need a cell phone a line to actually connect to this. Okay, you can still use this application offline or through Wi-Fi data. So if all you have is an internet connection and you have really bad cell service or you have no cell service at all, you're not stuck waiting for a text message. Okay. So that's another major plus to using an application like this. Okay. Now, one note of caution here I want to point out, and this is very important. Okay, when you use an application like this, it's going to have a backup recovery code. It's going to be a very long code, and you need to store that in a safe place. Okay, outside of the application, okay, in case you lose your phone, let's say it gets wiped and you have to reload all your credentials, you want that long backup offline code so you can reload this application and reconnect basically to all of your devices, or to all your accounts with your device. That's what I'm trying to say here. So what I do, I store mine offline, okay, inside of a document that's in a digital vault in a separate basically account. So if I ever do need that code, I have that backup code. So just kind of a little tip for you there. All right. Now, I have been using 2FA Authenticator, okay. This is the one that I recommend here. I've got a lot of friends who are using Google Authenticator, and I've been using it for 2FA for years. All right. Basically, if my any account that I have allows that option to be used, the scanning of the QR code and linking it to the application, I will always use it as my primary method of verification. It's just what I really like doing, and it's been working perfect for me. Okay, another method that is gaining popularity is application specifics provided by the company, bank, or the credit card company. Okay, so instead of having a third-party app that does this rolling code generator, a lot of companies now, especially credit card companies, if they're really big, like a really big bank or something, they're using their own mobile application to verify you. So basically, the way this works is you have their application, okay? So if you have a specific bank, you have that bank's application on your phone, and then they say verify through the app, right? So it's going to be something like this where it's going to have this option, right? And yes, so you open up the app, and then it pops up and it says, are you trying to basically log in? And it has like, yes, this is me. Usually that pops up on the application, and this is another way of two-factor authentication along with your password. And you may have to put your password in again when you do this, okay? But that is something that's becoming much more popular now, especially in large companies who have control over their application. And this is just something that you're seeing more common now. Okay, now next I want to talk about something that is rarely discussed these days. And we're going, old school here, but it is robust and it works, okay? And that is email verification. Now, in the past, email was the most common before SMS texting became kind of the norm, okay? And many businesses have moved away from this option. However, here's something they don't tell you, all right? If you want email and the institution still offers or still allows it, okay? You can call your financial institution. You can call basically whoever that is that login for that application or whatever. You can call them, their customer service, speak to the customer service department, and ask them specifically to turn back on email as a verification option. Okay, I have done this now twice. I have 2 different accounts that I use specifically that have email, because at times, again, if I am traveling and I don't have a cell phone signal, I can still use data and get email, right? And again, this is another form of, if they don't offer that two-factor authentication application, the rolling code, I will call them up and say, hey, can you turn the email back on? So I have that as an option. And then that's usually, a secondary option I can choose other than getting a text. And it works perfectly. It's worked in the past. And even though companies have removed that as, maybe in your dashboard where you can choose it, if you call them and you ask them to turn it back on, a lot of times their back-end system hasn't changed that much that they will allow that to still happen. So that's another tip for you. All right, now another tip that I want to point out here is if you cannot, again, get that text, especially if you're trying to do like Wi-Fi calling or something like that, another option that some providers, some logins have, is the ability to get a automated phone call where it'll call you and it'll say something like, hey, did you request this call? Press 1, you hit 1, it said your code to log in is, and they read off, an automated voice will read off that 6th digit. And I have found that, again, as I'm traveling, and I cannot get a good cell phone signal, right? Or I'm in a place where I don't have cell service, right? Sometimes I can turn on Wi-Fi calling and I can get a phone call, receive a phone call through Wi-Fi calling, and I can get that automated 6-digit code to log in. That's just another item you want to look at. So again, there's multiple ways to do this beyond just looking at, oh, I can't get a text message, what do I do? So we're looking at many options here. And yes, like I mentioned, What's that? For Wi-Fi calling. Another thing is voice over IP, which is the voice over internet protocol, which is what Skype used to be, and Skype just recently shut down. All right, but I had used that service through my Skype number, right, internationally, and it worked great. So that's, again, another one to keep in your back pocket. We have many options here. Okay. So what have we covered so far? So we talked about 2FA applications, so two-factor authentication applications with the rolling code. We talked about the mobile application that maybe the bank or credit card company may provide, right? Which is, yes, that's me. We talked about email as an option, and we talked about the automated phone call option as a fourth option there. Okay, so again, there's a lot of ways to receive your login code beyond just SMS. All right, so now let's finally jump into the whole SMS text messaging. This is what everybody wants to know, okay? But I want to show you first how many other options you had available to you, okay? In just all this, okay? And if you don't have an international or a roaming cell phone plan, you may not receive this SMS text message from your home country. It's called geolocking. They're locking down, and they have for many years now. They've locked down basically receiving text message internationally unless you have one of these plans. So before you do anything, we need to ask a very important question, and that is, what type of phone plan do you specifically need for your needs, okay? And there's really just two camps here, okay? There's Camp A, and that is going to be, you need your phone to function exactly like it does in your home country. So you get calls, you can send calls, you can receive calls, you can make calls, you can send and receive text messages. That's the camp maybe you might be in, okay? Now, another camp you might be in is you just need text messages. You just need that information to log into accounts, and you rarely use your home phone number, right, from your home country to make or receive calls, right? So those are really the two camps. If you are in Camp A, okay, and you are living abroad part of the year, okay, let's say you're running a business and you need vendors to call you, that's the number everybody knows, friends and family and stuff, and you just want to keep everything very simple, then just keep your cell phone plan in your home country and go with a provider that has an international plan option, okay? Yes, it is going to cost more, okay, but I have several friends of mine who live in the United States who actually travel to Southeast Asia part of the year, and they use T-Mobile as their primary carrier. And when they're abroad, international, when they're here in the Philippines or when they're basically in other parts of Southeast Asia, they will use the international plan on their T-Mobile. And yeah, it's more expensive, okay, but for them it's easy, right? That's what works for them. And again, many of them, they have friends, family, they're running businesses and stuff, so they keep that single number and they just turn on the international plan, and it works for them, pretty much in a lot of the countries that they need to be in. So changing your plan may not be the best option for you, is what I'm trying to basically put out there, okay? Now, if you're in Camp B, which is something that I'm in, okay, I rarely use my cell phone to make or receive calls. In fact, I use applications like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger to actually call friends and family when I'm traveling abroad, okay? I tend to use more voice over IP or some sort of messenger app to communicate with friends and family, okay? In fact, I've even got so far away from voicemail, I don't even use voicemail anymore. So if somebody needs to contact me, right, they're either messaging me or calling me on WhatsApp, on Facebook Messenger, they're sending me an email, and then, we're connecting that way, okay? And let's face it, voicemail today is nothing but spam calls, and, it's something I just haven't used in years, so I don't use it anymore. So that's one of the reasons I specifically went away from keeping a very robust plan in my home country of the US, and I kind of gone to a lesser plan, which we'll get into here. Okay, so all I need is a few text messages a month. That's really what I need, okay? So what I did is I took my US cell phone plan and I moved it over to a company called Tello. Now, Tello provides international roaming text messages along with maintaining my US phone number, okay? Now, I specifically have the 1 gigabit plus 100 minutes plan, and it's unlimited texting plan, right? That's in the US, right? And it costs me $6 US plus tax, so it's like $6.50 a month. And I have the eSIM, okay, on my phone for that basic monthly plan. And then, yes, there was a small setup fee when I ported the number over and stuff. I think in total it cost me I don't know, it was something around 20 some dollars and stuff. And then with the added plan and everything, the porting of the number, it cost me, I think, a total of $30 to set it up, and then 6 months or $650 or so with tax after that. So that's the plan I have, okay? And I like the service provider Tello because in addition to having this very inexpensive plan, they have something called pay-as-you-go credit, okay? And that's where the text messages are charged to. So when I'm traveling, I am in different countries, my text messages can be anywhere from a few pennies, and the most I've ever spent was 10 cents a text message. And again, since I'm only, if I'm only getting 5 or 10 text messages a month, that's 50 cents, a dollar. Okay, so it doesn't cost me a lot of money to maintain my US number and get international texting. And I've used it here in the Philippines and abroad, and it works great. When I was in Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur, it worked wonderful. When I'm here in the Philippines and in Manila and stuff, it works great. So, that's something I use, and really what I just use it for is, again, to get those SMS text messages or anything I need for verification, because I don't use my US number that much unless, again, it's some kind of emergency or I need to actually do a phone verification check, which is very rare. But then, I have that option as well, okay? Now, what's also good with that is when I travel back to the US, I can easily change that plan because it's not basically, I'm not locked in, right? It's a month-to-month plan, so I can just adjust that plan. So if I go back for a month or two, I can just increase my data. I can increase the amount of minutes I need. Whatever I need to do, I can adjust that plan, and then when I leave and I travel abroad, then I can go ahead and, downgrade that essentially, right, to a lesser plan, and then, I'm back to where I am, again, with this $6 a month plan. Now, when it comes to phone calls, all right, and using the voice over internet protocol, the VoIP service, okay, now that Skype has shut down, okay, you have other services like Google Voice, and there are many other options out there to consider, okay, for the calling, with a WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or anything like that. Now, later this week, I'm going to be releasing a detailed video on specifically this topic of voice over IP calling because it really does deserve its own video, okay? And I'm also digging very deeply into the Google Voice terms of service because there is some gray area there where people say you're not supposed to use it internationally. And I'm trying to understand really what the legalities are behind how they have it structured. So stay tuned, my friends. I am digging into that. That video will be coming soon. But right now, when it comes to basically two-factor authentication, all right, you have many, many options. So you have, again, the SMS text message, which is an option. I use Tello as my primary to hold my US number. But then, like I mentioned before, you have 4 other options: the email, the automated phone call. You have the application, right, for the institution, and you have the 2FA application with the rolling code. So there's many options there you want to consider. All right, my friends, there you have it. Please like and subscribe. Let's talk about this in the comment section. If you have any questions, go ahead and toss them in there, right? And again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.